Right then, let's just get straight into this. It's the build-up to the first game of the season. I don't like to do these, but I feel like I have to, as every single content creator probably does. It'll be irrelevant in a couple of days, but I need to get into not quite the Oscars, but the award predictions for next season and my general Newcastle United predictions for the 23-24 calendar season. Lots to talk about, a couple of categories you might not expect, a couple of your less run-of-the-mill categories, but I'm just going to chuck my predictions your way. Let me know yours in the comments. That's how pretty much this is going to go. And anyone who in 9 months' time digs these out if they are ridiculously wrong, I'd prefer you hit the unsubscribe. This is going to be an interesting one. Newcastle fans, it's my predictions for the season, so do us a favour if you want to hear what I've got to say on those, and stick around. Welcome back to the black, the white and the banter, you absolutely lovely Newcastle fans. I hope everyone is good. Of course we are. We've got documentaries coming out on Amazon. We've got Eddie Howe's Mags back at St James's Park. We've got Champions League football. A Champions League draw in what is, can I do the very, very quick math? Today's the 10th. 21 days. Boom. I've told you I'm a mathematician on previous videos. 21 days until we find out which glorious European teams we will be able to visit around the country. Around Europe. Oh, I will be sat with Ryanair ready to go. But with the new season in mind, I told you there was going to be lots of videos coming this week. There is the small matter of the predictions. We've all got to do them. We're all talking about them in the pub. They will be irrelevant in a couple of days. We'll all have forgotten about who we think's going to win what and who's going to do well and who's not going to do so well, because once the season goes, that's all we will be talking about. But I'm going to put my balls on the line. I'm going to put my balls on the meat chopper, on the meat grinder, and say what I think is going to happen this season. If you disagree, which I kind of hope you do, because comments are never good if everyone just says, agree. They're nice, and I love them, but I do like a bit of frisky debate. And the best thing about predictions is that everyone normally has a different point of view. So, Newcastle fans, before we get into all that juicy stuff, do me a favour, drop down, whack that like button, whoever you are watching this. I don't care whether you do not speak a word of English and you don't know what I'm saying right now. Turn on the subtitles and whack the like. Whack the subscribe as well if you like this video by the end of it. Of course, there's an Aston Villa match preview coming up. My first match preview of the season. Of course, there's a match vlog coming up for the first Premier League game of the season, and then it's just going to keep on rolling. And you don't want to miss all that if you are tuned in to Newcastle United YouTube stuff. Maybe you're not, then maybe you do want to miss it. But hey, I'm hoping you're the first one and not the latter. So whack that subscribe. So let's just kick this straight off. My last couple of videos have been about 25 minutes long. I don't know how some of you watch them for that long. I don't like the sound of my voice when I have to listen to a voice back for 3 minutes, never mind 20 plus. So thank you very much for the ones who are sticking out my longer videos. Category number one, let's just get into the nitty-gritty with league position. Now, what's really pushed my fucking buttons in the past 2 weeks, and I'm going to give a shout-out to one of the only real YouTube channels that I try and watch as religiously as possible when I go on my dog walks and listen to, is True Faith. They've done a very similar video in the past 24 hours talking about how frustrating it is to read about pundits. So, shout-out to them. I was lucky enough to say hello to Charlotte from True Faith in America, and I told her how much I love their channel. Proper debates, not just news reporting. If you haven't checked out True Faith, please do. I really like it. And I'm totally with them with regards to all you are seeing in the press is Newcastle being written off. I mean, we're used to this now. We are getting used to this, but it's just getting a little bit ludicrous. So our squad that pretty comfortably got Champions League last year, we won like one of our last 5 games, but still managed to get there. 4th place, ours, most of the season in 3rd. We haven't lost any players from that team. We've added Tonali, AC Milan's golden boy. We've added a Premier League midfielder who's banged 13 goals in a relegated side. 12 goals the year before, I believe. That's off the top of my head, but consistently double figures. And yet we are being talked about as, no, they won't do it. They won't do it again. No chance. And the reason that is because we've got more matches because of the Champions League. More matches. We got to the fucking cup final last season and still managed to get fourth. Our first cup final, something we were not used to still be playing matches by then. Two-legged semi-finals, still managed to get to in the Champions League. I've got no doubts about it. Other teams are going to come in stronger this year. Your Liverpools, your Chelseas. I'm pretty sure that's going to happen. But for every pundit to be writing us off as 8th, 6th, whether it's the Athletic, Jamie Carragher, Gary Neville, all of these people, I don't know whether it is just to sell a story and whether to get these bites. I'm not sure, because we were good for most of the year. Forget about the time up in the build-up to the cup final when our form dropped off a little bit. Teams were coming to St James's Park and parking fucking God knows how many men behind the ball to the point where we couldn't break them down. That's how class we were. They wanted a point so desperately from St James's Park. It was Fortress St James's. Best defence only matched by the champions Man City. And teams are talking about us as being like 8th, top 10, all of this good stuff. And I'm not saying we're going to get Champions League again. I'm going to touch on that now. But it's just ridiculous. So Newcastle fans, do us a favour. Put your cloths in your ears for some of the stuff that's being churned out. And let's just see what Eddie Howe's mags can do when the season starts. So my league position I'm going to go for, it's a heavy heart for us to say this, but I think we are going to finish 5th. Now, I give this some thought. I do think we are going to be in and around that top 4, because we haven't lost anyone and we've added them players, as I've already mentioned. But I just think everything, not from a point of view of, more football is going to be too tough. Tuesday, Saturday's fine. Wednesday, Sunday is fine, because let's face it, we're always on fucking Sky, because Sky Sports cannot get enough of Eddie Howe's mags. So we will be on telly quite a lot, so we might see the Sundays, which will be quite helpful in some cases. But generally speaking, I just think that the league is maybe going to be a little bit more competitive next year. Lots of clubs have sorted their shit out at the top end of the Premier League, and that's what might make it a little bit tougher for us. Our squad depth is good, and we've proved that in this pre-season, but is our squad depth challenge on all fronts good? I don't know, and I still think league will be the bread and butter. We might see one cup shelved, the FA Cup maybe, might get shelved. It felt like that way a little bit last season, but I just think we might fall a little bit short. But by short, 5th place to me, depending on how other competitions go, which I'll touch on other categories on this video, would still be good. I would love to see us maintain top 4, that's what I want, but I just think the level of competition is going to explode a little bit more. There's been a lot of money spent in a lot of different places, and we have a lot of competitors that are going to it's going to be a fantastic, fascinating season again. And we all know we got Champions League faster than expected, and FFP's maybe not been able to keep up with that, and Darren Eales has made that joke this week in an interview that Eddie Howe's, they're struggling to keep up with Eddie Howe getting us Champions League so fast. Maybe that might have caught up with us a little bit fast to maintain it. So I'm going to go for a nice steady 5th. And that's not me being negative, Newcastle fans. Anyone who watches my videos knows I'm not negative. I'm not a negative guy. I just think that'll be where we might sit. And I hope that we get top 4 again. Man, imagine if we were like challenging up. Why couldn't we? And I want to reiterate that. So next category. God, I said I wasn't going to make this a long video. That's already gone out the window. I've got so much to fucking say. Maggie, my dog's just laid on the sofa now thinking, yes, say it to the camera, Dad, so you don't have to say it to me. Next category is going to be my player of the season. Who do I think will be player of the season in 9 months? Again, I gave this one a lot of thought. I think the player of the season, and it's not a safe option, I'm not going with the safe choice, is going to have to be Joey from Linton again. I just think he has the potential with Champions League in mind as well to up his game again. And he's the sort of dominant midfielder who's box to box, unlike maybe Bruno, who can always be noticed in matches as being the standout player with his tackles, with his aggression, with his forward running, playing on the left-hand side when Eddie Howe needs him. His addition of goals that I'm hoping he pushes on a little bit more. He's going to be buzzing to be mixing it with the best. He's got his Brazil call-up, which has only boosted his confidence even more recently. I was delighted for him like a proud dad. Joe Linton, I think, will prove again that he is one of our most important players. I really do. I watched his goal against Villarreal on Sunday. Lovely finish, lovely run. More of that, please, Joey. He's my pick for player of the season. Surprise package of the season next. This is the category that I threw in there, something a little bit quirky. Who do I think we are going to be talking about as wow? Didn't expect that. Again, very tricky. So for me, this is between 2. I'm going to go Gordon, which I think because of his Euro 21 tournament, because he's looked like a Duracell bunny on crack cocaine in pre-season, he has a high chance of feeling like a new signing after he saw a slow start in January and really, really offering us something. But I'm still unsure whether he's a little bit raw to contribute your assists and your goals more regular. So who I'm going to go for in this one, might be a little bit quirky, and this one might get some debate in my comments, is Jacob Murphy. I think Jacob Murphy can really, really continue where he left off at the back end of last season, where he was transformed. He's already banged in a worldie against Villarreal. On that right-hand side, he's direct. He likes to whip the ball in, which Callum Wilson and Isak will be mopping up as much as possible. But he likes to get a shot off as well, and he's pretty pacey. But his energy levels suit Eddie Howe's engine-style player profile that he loves. And I like a right-hand-sided player on the right-hand side. Call me old-fashioned if that's what that is. I really do. Someone to really run at his man, direct. And we don't have too much direct in our team. You've got Gordon, you've got Isak. But after that, you're struggling for a player who always wants to take his man on when he gets the ball. So I'm going to go Jacob Murphy, as long as he can continue where he left off. We all know he's likeable. He might just surprise us more and maintain that form. Next category is a bit more negative, but we have to throw those ones in as well. Who do I think is going to be the biggest disappointment of the season? I mean, how can you say this about anyone from Eddie Howe's beautiful mags? They're all fucking legends in their own category, aren't they, really? But I'm going to go with this one. This was the hardest one for me to sit down and think before I made this video. I'm going to go Joe Willock. And I've actually said a different answer on my TikTok video, so that's interesting that I've changed it at the last minute there. The only reason I'm going to say Joe Willock is because he's missed pre-season through injury. He's got a very hard job to get back in this team. If you look at our midfield options now, first three, Bruno, Tonali, Longstaff, who was so important to us last season, Joe Linton, Elliot Anderson's going to be knocking on the door. Then you've got front three, Almiron, Gordon, Isak, Wilson, Barnes, who's just come in, who's got goal scoring looks natural to the man. He's just banged in 2. I love Willock. I think he was so important, almost understated how important he was to us last year. But I'm struggling to see where he can have a real strong impact and be a starter week in, week out in this team, because the options now are getting crazy. So when I say disappointment, I don't mean he was shit. I mean, wow, I would have, I maybe expected a bit more from Willock than what he's had. And maybe that's because he becomes a substitute. I don't know. I don't want that. He's still so young and he's such an exciting talent, Willock. That's the hard one. And it was between him and Almiron for me, because Almiron, I'm still dubious whether he will have the purple patch we saw at the back end of last season. But how do you really put your heart into an answer of the biggest disappointment of the season? It's so difficult. So that was biggest disappointment. Next category, how will we do in this absolutely, I can't reach it, beautiful competition that is on my right arm, the Champions League? I think we will go out in the first knockout. I think we will surprise so many teams in the group stages, teams that come to St James's Park and treat us as the shitty 4th seed. Don't expect the intensity, the atmosphere, the hostile environment for them to play the football in, and the high press from Eddie Howe, getting up their asses and really showing the quality of your Isaks and your Joe Lintons and your Tonalis, who can smash it in the Champions League, and your Botmans. So I think we're going to get through to the knockouts. That's where inexperience in the knockouts might come in. We might need a bit of lady luck to go any further, but getting through the group stages would be absolutely incredible. Carabao Cup and FA Cup. Carabao Cup, I don't expect us to go all the way in that one again. I think we do maybe a more difficult draw somewhere along the lines. We were quite blessed in our draws with the Leicesters, the Southamptons, the Bournemouths last season. That's what helped us get there a little bit. I think we are maybe due like a really tough game. Maybe like Arsenal away, which we've got a terrible record, or a Man City away. FA Cup, I'm going to go that we will get to Wembley. And I'm going to say that, but I'm going to sit on the fence a little bit and be a bit sneaky, because getting to Wembley in the FA Cup is either semi-final or final. So I'm just going to say get to Wembley. So not as good in the Carabao, better in the FA Cup. I'm going to go for this season, which will be amazing. A Wembley trip. Forget about the result in February. That was absolutely memories for a lifetime, was that Wembley trip. But wouldn't it be nice to go one better and actually lift the cup and party on down Wembley way in the aftermath of the match? So those are my categories. Those are my big categories. League position, player of the season, surprise package, biggest disappointment, cup competitions. My final one to finish with is top scorer. For me, Alexander Isak, almost made the category of player of the season. I think Isak is going to take the Premier League by storm. That's my big ballsy statement of this video, because we saw so much incredible potential when he didn't even have a full season under his belt and he had to get up to speed, half fit after an awful injury, and he still came in and did what he did. Imagine a full tank of Isak raring to go after a full pre-season. I think he's class. And I think he's going to show his class next season. That's why I want him to start over Callum Wilson. So he's my top scorer. Newcastle fans, you know what to do. I'm going to pin the categories in a comment. One by one, I want you to paste, or if you can just write it yourself, then do that. Whatever easiest. Let me know your categories. Let me know your answers in the comments. And let me know whether you think I'm an absolute fool for any of my answers. It's all opinion, because football would be boring and YouTube would be boring if we didn't all have one. My next video is going to be an Aston Villa match preview. Of course it is, before that wonderful game that we're all looking forward to so much on Saturday night. So if you want to catch that, whack the like, whack the subscribe. I'll see you for that one. Let us know your categories, because the season is almost here and football is almost back. See you on the next one, Newcastle fans. Away the lads.